Good evening. The meeting of the Monroe Township Board of Education will come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have a roll call, Mr. Gorski?
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Here.
Mr. Tesler.
Here.
Ms. Antelis. Mr. Braverman.
He's on the
Present. Okay. Mr. Chiarella. Here. Mr. Kaufman. Mr. Masters.
Here.
Mr. Poi.
Here.
Mr. Prezioso.
Here.
Mr. Zarneski.
Here.
Madam Board President, you have a quorum.
Thank you. In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted November 7, 2013, 1 at all schools, 2 Home News Tribune, 3 Cranberry Press, and 4 filed with the clerk of the municipality. And before we get to our student board members' reports, I would like to congratulate Mr. Kaufman on his reelection to the Board of Education and welcome Michelle Arminio and Tom Nostine to our board. You will be a welcome addition to us when you get sworn in January, and we all look forward to working with you to continue educational excellence in Monroe. So welcome. And I want to talk to Lou Masters and Ira, because I know there's been some disappointment over there. And sometimes we don't realize what we have done when we're on the board. It's like we never feel like we've done enough for children. So I was thinking about, and Ira, you've been here 7 years almost, and Lou 3.5, what has been accomplished. So the short list, 2 pages, short list, is the opening of Oak Tree School, which is on Mr. Tesler's watch, on time, under budget, and returning money to the taxpayers. The opening of the new high school, on time, under budget, and returning money to the taxpayers. The renovation and remediation of Applegarth, making it a safe and healthy school, under the operating budget. The renovation of the old high school into the Monroe Township Middle School, under the operating budget. We put new roofs on Brookside School and the Marasco Performing Arts Center. We've had 2 successful negotiations during your time here with no increase in the budget. We've lowered our adequacy spending. We've cut $17 million from our budget. We've made many safety and security upgrades, improved test scores, added buses to our fleet, which has been a safety issue, implemented AVID, helping the children in the middle. We have improved our special ed program and added an autistic apartment in the high school. We've implemented MECA and the kindergarten enrichment program to help us with added revenue to our budget. And we've received a lot of recognition in our district. In 2012, the school boards, we've won an award for innovation in education for creative classroom use of technology. We've been recognized in 2012 as one of the top performing high schools in Middlesex County. This past September, Inside New Jersey magazine named us one of the top performing public high schools, and I believe Dr. Hamilton might have some more good news under your report. So we've done all this and much more while adding over 1,200 students to the district, decreasing the tax rate from 18.7 cents 2 years ago to 2.5 cents this past budget, and our graduation rate is over 98%. So the both of you have a lot to be proud of during your time here, and I'd like to thank you on behalf of the board for your service to Monroe, to our community, and to our children. Thank you. So at this time, we'll go to our student board members' reports. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In October, the students of Brookside raised money for breast cancer awareness by purchasing pencils and bracelets. The entire fundraiser was ran by the Student Council. The 5th grade students of Brookside donated their leftover Halloween candy and made care packages for the troops in Iraq. They're sending the candy with handwritten letters and thank you cards to celebrate the troops for Veterans Day. Brookside participates in the Scripps National Spelling Bee. This week, classrooms will be holding their annual spelling bees. The top 5 winners of each grade level will come together to compete in the school-wide spelling bee this January. The winner of the school-wide spelling bee will compete in the Scripps National Spelling Bee competition in March, held at Monmouth University. Last week, the Brookside PTA sponsored an assembly called Magical Songwriter, where students created a school song. The students had a great time using their creative sides to create the song, and it came out fantastic. Mill Lake's Toys for Tots campaign will kick off on November 15th and run through December 13th. Students are encouraged to donate new toys for needy children. The toys are distributed for children by the United States Marine Corps. The Mill Lake's first and second grade students are hosting the International Food Fest on December 6th, which will expose students to the cultures from around the world. And Mill Lake's annual Jump Rope for Heart will be held on December 11th.
The students of the Monroe Township School District are helping families in need this holiday season. The students of Brookside are holding their annual November holiday food drive. They prepare care packages for families in need in Monroe, and they also prepare care packages for Feeding Friends, which is a foundation that feeds families in need for the holidays. The Monroe Township High School Avid students are running a Thanksgiving food drive with the Rise Foundation. They are collecting pasta, canned goods, and gift cards. Bins are located throughout the school for students and teachers to place their items in. Avid students will be loading the food truck this Friday. The Monroe Township High School Falcon football team participated in Tackle Hunger, where they asked students to bring a canned good with them as they enter the gates to the game on November 8th versus Sayreville. All canned goods were donated to the Jamesburg Food Pantry. We want to give a special congratulations to the Monroe Township High School Marching Band and Color Guard for winning the U.S. Band's Group 2 National Championship in Allentown, Pennsylvania last Saturday. The marching band placed first out of 24 bands in the competition, as well as setting a school record and receiving the award for Best Overall Effect. Congratulations to all of the band and Color Guard members. Challenge Day is coming back to Monroe Township High School on December 10th, 11th, and 12th. A handful of students spend their day in the gym participating in team building and life reflecting activities. The Challenge Day mission is to provide youth and their communities with the possibility of love and connection through the celebration of diversity, truth, and full expression. American Education Week is next week. Parents are invited to elementary schools to attend special activities in the classrooms, and schools will be closed November 28th and 29th for Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we are spotlighting each of our schools during the year, and tonight we will be spotlighting Mill Lake School. And Dr. Hamilton, would you like to?
Yes. Good evening, all. It is with great pleasure and pride that I introduce our principal of Mill Lake School, Dr. Lynn Barberi.
Thank you very much. I am, as Dr. Hamilton said, Dr. Lynn Barberi, and I have had the privilege of serving as the principal of Mill Lake School for the past 11 years. It is my pleasure this evening to share some of the highlights of Mill Lake School, which is currently serving 393 students in preschool, kindergarten, first and second grade classes. Our school is located in the Mill Lake Manor section of the township on Monmouth Road. At Mill Lake School, we are a professional learning community whose number one question is, what is best for our students? In order to answer that question in various scenarios, we seek data, identify goals and barriers, and work collaboratively to find solutions where the desired result is to have all students actively engaged and learning at high levels. We embrace the Monroe Township School District's vision fully and believe that we are the first steps our children take to be prepared to reach their full potential. We strive to make every child who enters our school feel whole, capable, supported, and happy. When children feel secure, They are willing and able to take the risks necessary for learning to occur. We believe that learning should be a joyful experience. Mill Lake School's teachers have all achieved highly qualified status as defined by the United States Department of Education. This is our wall of honor, where we post photographs of every person who works with the children at Mill Lake School. People who have the privilege of working with our children have a great responsibility to always do their very best work for them. Our teachers and support staff are fully committed to teaching and reaching every single child in every single class. Our teachers are continuously engaged in professional development designed to enhance their skills. They understand that some children may not learn the same as other children. Our talented teachers differentiate instruction using myriad strategies to better meet the needs of the learners. They examine and reflect on the evidence they gather to ensure that their children are making progress. In addition to the tools they have honed through their experiences in working with young children, all of our teachers are implementing Marzano's Art and Science of Teaching protocols to improve students' academic performance. If we find that children are struggling, we intervene early through a process called RTI, Response to Intervention, which is a team approach to implementing interventions to help the child succeed. With regard to what we teach, Mill Lake School teachers utilize the Common Core Standards, the New Jersey Curriculum Content Standards, and the Monroe Township District Curriculum to provide children with the foundational skills and strategies they need to grow in language arts, literacy, mathematics, science, social studies, and health. Our children also embrace the visual arts, music, and physical education. They visit the school library for instruction once a week. We focus on developing the whole child through our character education initiatives. We promote respect, citizenship, caring, fairness, honesty, and responsibility at all times. We encourage our students to treat others the way they wish to be treated. We use a story about bucket filling to bring this concept to life for our young children. We encourage the children to demonstrate positive social interactions by filling other people's invisible buckets. While I could stand here and tell you hundreds of reasons why Mill Lake is a great school, I will just tell you 3. Mill Lake is great because our teachers teach children in active and engaging ways that make the concepts real for the children. Real firefighters teach children how to get out of a burning building alive during Fire Safety Week. The children's teachers lead them through various drills to keep them safe in an emergency, including bus evacuation drills, fire drills, lockdown drills, and more. Children read and write for real purposes, such as writing their wishes and dreams for a new school year, writing personal narratives about an important small moment in their lives, or writing a how-to book to teach someone else how to do something that they know how to do. Children learn scientific ideas by following an inquiry-based curriculum that provides opportunities for them to observe, hypothesize, experiment, analyze, and communicate using real objects and living things. Special guests teach children about life on Earth and even in space. Our students learn from visiting astronomers, biologists, physicians, EMT workers, environmentalists, entertainers, reptile enthusiasts, raptor handlers, and many more people willing to share their work lives with our students. Here, our resident worm man shares fossils and helps our students set up composting bins that create fertile soil. 2, Mill Lake teachers and staff make learning fun. Children use real objects and tools to gain life skills and strategies related to number sense, problem solving, measurement, geometry, algebra, and much more. Children play interactive learning games to help them make responsible decisions, learn how to solve problems, and to practice newly acquired basic skills. Each year, Mill Lake School hosts a real children's author to inspire our students to embrace reading and writing. Here, author Darryl Cobb entertains our students with a story and a song he composed after an experience he had with his own children. Mill Lake School has a very prolific garden this year thanks to teacher Mrs. Bareksky and her team of parent and student volunteers who added vegetables and sunflowers to it. We appreciate the support of Jerry Tagg of the Facilities Department, our parent-teacher organization, and the donations from many local nurseries whose collective efforts have created a memorable learning experience for our students. Recently, we were faced with the high cost of bringing our children to the local farms for pumpkin picking, so we found a man who brings the agricultural experience to us in a way that helps our students appreciate the contributions of Monroe farmers. Great fun is had by all during Mill Lake's Field Day, where scores of parents assist our physical education teacher, Mrs. Lombard, and our classroom teachers in leading our students through team-building challenges. Many of our teachers even encourage their students to dunk them in the dunk tank. And 3, Mill Lake teachers and staff make learning meaningful. Mill Lake School has raised thousands of dollars over the years to support various charities dedicated to the well-being of our students and the people in our community. Here, children are warming up before our walk to support the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. Mill Lake School has held an annual Jump Rope for Heart for more than 10 years, raising awareness and funds for the American Heart Association. In recognition of Memorial Day last year, the students in Ms. Papandrea's class performed patriotic songs and created a butterfly garden to welcome home her student's dad, who was a serviceman returning from Afghanistan. The Mill Lake family memorialized our beloved custodian, Angelo Cinquagrana, with an amazing mural that renamed our cafeteria Mr. Angelo's Cafe. The image was created using handprints of every Mill Lake student and staff member, artfully arranged by our teachers, Ms. Smith and Ms. Perrine. In a nod to the art form of pointillism and the vision of our art teacher, Ms. Perrine, every student and staff member painted this mural that now welcomes everyone to our beautiful school. The words, "Mill Lake is great," and "we are a family of friends," are absolutely true. In appreciation of our great nation, our newest canvas mural incorporates the handprint of every Mill Lake student and staff member, forming an inspirational rendition of the United States flag. And as our reporter from the high school reported recently, Mill Lake's next meaningful event will help to develop the social conscience of our students and school community as we begin this year's Toys for Tots campaign in cooperation with the United States Marine Corps. Over the years, our school has donated thousands of toys for needy children. In conclusion, I thank the Monroe Township Board of Education and the people of Monroe for supporting the education of our youngest students. We strive to give our little ones the basic foundation for their educational experience, believing that, indeed, these children are our future. When our little friends leave our doors, our incredible teachers, staff, and I are confident that we have given them the foundation they need to love learning throughout their lives. Thank you for your attention, and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have about our children's educational experience at Mill Lake School. Any questions? Questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Barberi, for giving community a little insight onto Mill Lake School, especially those of us who don't get to go to Mill Lake very often.
Thank you very much.
Okay, at this time, we will have the presentation of the 2012-2013 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, and I understand, Mr. Tesler, that Mr. Gorski's going to let you read it.
There it is.
Dr. Hamilton, Mike. Mike.
Yes. Thank you, Mrs. Koloponowicz. At this time, I'd like to give the floor to Jerry Stankowitz, certified public accountant, partner with Samuel Klein and Company. Jerry.
Thank you. That's a tough act to follow. I'm going to do my best. I also have good news, like the principal does. We prepared the audit for the year ended June 30th of 2013. Our audit actually started about a year ago. I can only remember the hurricane because it got quite crazy where I live and where my office is. So we started the audit about a year ago in looking at the ASSA, which is the application for state school aid. We did the audit for that. That's included in the smaller of the two documents here tonight. We also came in February or January and did some interim audit work on the Capital Projects Fund to help ascertain the sufficiency of the balances there. And starting in July, we were here reading minutes, looking at the student activity funds, and then in August, looking at payroll and the expenditures and all the different revenue items. And we recently have concluded the audit. We have always been available to the business office in all the years we've been involved here. We kind of think, and as they do, because they were also trained accountants and auditors, that the audit process is actually a year-round process. If there's something that we need to know, we're informed, or something that they think we should check out, we check it out, and that makes the audit process go a lot smoother. What we do test on behalf of the board is the expenditures. We make sure that the expenditures are all A, properly documented, B, in compliance with the public school contracts law, and C, that at year end, that the expenditures are cut off properly with respect to the fiscal year that they relate to. There's a concept called accounts payable. We have accounts payable as of June 30th. Those are bills that are paid in July, August, or September of 2013, but they relate back to the prior fiscal year. They just haven't been paid because it was between meetings, and as you're aware, we pay bills only and authorize them at meetings. The other area that we look into is payroll. We do a sample. Everything we do is sample-based. I don't know anyone that does a 100% audit. If they do, they're getting a gigantic fee, and then it's not an audit. But basically, we do a sample of payroll transactions in that we look at to determine that everyone was paid properly in accordance with board authorization. We also make sure their withholdings are proper. We also flow through that information through to make sure that the payroll withholdings in mass for the whole district are paid timely and in the correct amount, and they are. Revenues, really, our two basic revenues our biggest revenue is taxes from local sources, and we do get some state aid, which is quite easily audited. So basically, from all of our tests and from the good results that we get from these tests, we end up with, at the end, we end up with a clean opinion. I just want to refer that to everyone to that page. That would be page 10 of the larger of the two documents. The only thing that actually belongs to us within this larger document is our auditor's opinion. Basically, everything in here is representations of the board's management. They provide us with the data. We then take that data, we audit it, and then we put it into report format. I also would want to point out, too, the most important thing is that as we are handed the records, the most important thing is that the cash that's reflected on the general ledgers as presented equals the amounts on the bank rec. That is accounting 1, chapter 1. It's also auditing 1, chapter 1 as well. You've heard in the past the term cash is king. Well, our cash actually ties out here pretty well, and it's presented properly. The key thing is presentation. We are supposed to be independent with respect to those records. We are not allowed to make management decisions. We are not allowed to create numbers that are contained in this audit. Everything is the representation of the board. You hear so much adverse publicity every now and then about auditors as a result of some of the big corporate scandals that occurred out there. Those auditors, I believe, maybe got too much involved with management. We like to think that we are, these wonderful business consultants as well, just because we've done a lot of things over the years with many boards, but for the most part, we don't touch books of original entry. And by us not having to do that, obviously, it helps in terms of our audit opinion. We get good records, we get good information. I also want to point out that over at the board office, and actually in the schools that we visited, we've got cooperation from all the support staff. They are anxious to do a good job, they want to do a good job, and they want feedback about their job as well. So the whole ball of wax contributes to our clean opinion, which is on page 10. And actually, after all these years, the auditing industry decided to clarify their reports, and it says in the middle of the page, opinions, okay? What they really did was, the wording's all the same, they just put subtitles in. So in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above, which is the financial statements of the district, present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities, business activities of each major fund and the remaining aggregate funds of the Township of Monroe School District. That's known as a clean opinion, an unqualified opinion. That's the highest level of opinion that you can get. And that's a result of all the hard work of the business office trying to, head towards the end product, which is getting a good audit and a good result from that. In addition to that, we also prepare this thinner of the two documents, and this one actually is my representation to the board, because in effect, I really answer to the board. I don't answer to the business office or the superintendent. I work for the board. I think it's one of the few positions in New Jersey school districts that actually is a direct board appointment. This document here is somewhat boilerplate wording, somewhat required wording that the State Department of Ed likes to see. There's information in here, they add requirements to us, okay, and they make us put it in the report because they're looking for data, rather than just come right to the school for the data. So we have to kind of play along with it. But as a result of our testing, and I would say that we test extensively in the area of expenditures, number one, we had no violations of the Department of Ed requirements, which are also embodied in just standard operating accounting practices. Number one, documentation's good. Two, everything is charged to the correct account. We're not charging the heat bill to, the telephone bill, or vice versa. Health benefits aren't charged to salaries. It's very important that everything be charged properly. I mean, board members like yourselves are making decisions based on budgets, based on financial, historical information. So it's important for you to know that everything is categorized properly. In the event, you have to really look back at the expenditures that are contained in this document. So as a result, we end up with clean opinion and no audit recommendations. I do want to point out, I did mention before that there is the governmental funds, which is your general fund, your capital fund, your special revenue fund. Those were fine. There's also business type activities. You now have 2 business type activities, and they're deemed as business type activities because it's a service that could otherwise be provided by a business, okay? One of which is your food service program. Food service program had around $2.5 million in revenue, and it had, I consider it to be break even, it had about a $70,000 loss, most of which was attributed to depreciation. So in my mind, that's at a break even point. There's no reason to panic or do anything, in terms of adjusting anything, but you're at break even there. And also in that fund, although it is an enterprise fund and operate like a business, we're not allowed to accumulate too much surplus in that fund either. We're limited to 30% of the annual operating expenses, subject to some adjustments. There is one other fund in here that is newly created. I'd be remiss if I didn't point out, it's the MECA, the Child Initiative. It did operate at a loss. It's still in its development stage, and my understanding from interim reports that I've been told about is that it is moving towards going into the black during this fiscal year. So that's a good thing, and I think that's a result of increased participation as well as some expansion of the services offered. So I have to point that out. If I don't, I wouldn't be doing my job, and hopefully that'll be on track in a couple of years. It's a development stage type of enterprise that just needs, to get some steam going. So it's in there as a comment. Probably if I didn't comment, I'd get a letter from the Department of Ed demanding that I comment, so I have to put a little bit of mention in there. I mentioned early on, our audit starts with the ASSA. We had no problems with that. There's always been very good results. We actually count the IEPs. We review the free and reduced income applications, and then we verify the enrollment count as of October 14th or 15th, whatever the actual date is. It's a lengthy, tedious, horrifying process, but we are required to do it. So it's time consuming, but the state is, they have their motive, and they want to make sure that all the counts are accurate and that they're independently verified, not just certified from internally within the district. So the thicker of the 2 documents, and just to point something out, has, I guess, some key information that I would be, again, remiss if I didn't point it out. It's on page 86, okay? Basically, if you look at page 86 and go down to the bottom of the page, there's a recapitulation of fund balance. You ended the year with $10,963,000. Okay, now that's not all free and clear money. There's requirements that we have to follow. Of that, $4.122 million is excess surplus from the 11-12 school year mandated to be a revenue source in your 13-14 budget, and it's there. The $2,000 is just a small capital reserve that you have. The $4,987,000 is excess surplus as a result of the 12-13 operations, which will be a mandatory revenue source in your 14-15 budget. Okay? And then we have our 2%, I call it ceiling, which is what the Department of Ed allows us to keep in reserve in the event of a rainy day or something. That's $1,850,000. So I wanted to point that out. That the exhibits here, C1, which ends with 86, that's your reality in terms of how you operate. There's a lot of different accounting information in here, and we're required to convert your C exhibits into these accounting required formats because of things like we have to convert some of your state aid to not being state aid because although it's a receivable on our books, the state doesn't have an accounts payable set up for it. So under the accounting requirements of government entities, we can't recognize the income for what they call generally accepted accounting principles for school districts, okay? It's theoretical, and actually the problem is really not of ours, it's actually the state's problem. It actually affects their ranking and their rating because they are 10% behind in their school aid payments until they catch up. It's 2 payments out of the 20. So, but we get the money actually came in on July 7th, and they're pretty accurate when they say they're coming in. It's just that they can't charge it to their 13th fiscal year, they charge it to the next year. 8-10 years ago, it was 1 payment, and about 5 years ago, they moved it to 2 payments. So that's a different item in here. So there are some balance sheets in here that are presented that not necessarily correlate to the rest of the audit. It's because we have to convert them to the required generally accepted accounting principle, which does not allow us to recognize the revenue. Under our budgetary basis, it's there, we have it, we got it, it's available, and it's not a problem. There's another conversion that we have to do, and that's that we then take all the financial statements of the district and we convert them to that of a corporate model. We have to add things like depreciation to our expenses and then a full accounting of the total sick time liability for the district. We then convert it to what it looks like to be a corporate model. The lords of the profession require that. I, again, don't emphasize it because it's not that imperative or important to what's going on here in Monroe. It's more to hold school districts nationwide sort of side by side so we can say, hey, they're doing this, okay? And to be truthful, I do it, but I don't agree with it or like it. So, but we have to go this extra step along the way to do it. But the main exhibits are your C exhibits, and that's where your whole thing in a nutshell is. If there's any questions, I'm here. I want to thank Mike Gorski and his staff. They're most cooperative and happy to see us come, but also happier to see us drop the final box of audits off. So,
Mike?
Mrs. Kolpanovich, for the public's benefit, I would just like to go through some of the financial highlights that are contained in the comprehensive annual financial report, which are the representations of Dr. Hamilton and I, and I'll be brief. This is for the 12-13 school year. The district was awarded $2.6 million in general fund state aid revenue, which was a slight increase of only $600,000 from the 11-12 award. That amount was further reduced by $106,000 for mandatory withholding for debt service on SDA funding. In response to the fact that only 2% of all revenues required to support the 12-13 school budget are raised by state aid, a direct result of insufficient and inequitable state aid funding, district administration drafted legislation known as S-2307. The legislation was sponsored by Senator Linda Greenstein and is designed to remove the state aid growth limit for districts including Monroe, whose populations consist of greater than 1/3 senior citizens aged 65 years or older, potentially resulting in $6.9 million of additional state aid based upon the 12-13 budget. That bill is still very much alive with Senator Greenstein's reelection, and we'll be pushing for that continuance. $2 million of bond surplus from the construction of this high school was applied against the debt service tax levy. That was the first of more installments to come. That directly reduced taxes in the 12-13 school year. This is a result of the management efficiencies recognized in the construction of the Monroe Township High School. Although the constrictive tax levy has prevented many school districts in the state from budgeting for capital outlay projects within the budget, the Monroe Township School District effectively managed to include a capital outlay project in our budget, replacing a 50,135 square foot section of the Brookside School roof at a budgeted estimated cost of $1,164,000. The district has recognized savings of $748,000 since entering into a cooperative purchasing agreement with the county office in May of 2011. The district saved $1,776,200 in health insurance costs by negotiating stipends to staff that were eligible to waive all district-provided health insurance as a result of having alternate coverage. As of June 30, 2013, 101 staff members have opted out of health insurance. And in an attempt to expedite their return to work from maternity leave, thus reducing district costs, improving the continuity of teaching and learning, while also responding to the community's suggestions to explore external revenue-generating endeavors, the district launched the Monroe Employee Child Care Initiative in September of 2012. In this initial year of operations, there were 14.5 full-time equivalent enrollees as of June 30, 2013, which resulted in a loss from operations, as Mr. Stankiewicz said, of $215,000. Loans payable to the general fund were $309,000 as of June 30, 2013. In September of 2013, the district added the Early Childhood Enrichment Program segment, providing kindergarten enrichment services. At that time, enrollment had grown to 32 full-time equivalent for the Monroe Employee Child Care Initiative and 41 full-time equivalent for the Early Childhood Enrichment Program, and a first monthly profit was recognized. The district scored a perfect 100 score under the Fiscal Management Assessment of New Jersey CUSAC District Performance Review in the 12-13 school year, and the district is in compliance with S1701 in regards to designated and undesignated reserves. Some other quick facts. Property taxes consist of 84% of all revenues. That's unprecedented. You're not going to find another school district with a percentage that high relying on local taxpayers. And the district is addressing that with all means necessary. Mr. Stankiewicz talked about the surplus, so I'll skip over that. The district has outstanding $148 million of bonds as of June 30, 2013. They're on a pretty linear amortization schedule and are being paid off with principal on semi-annual payments each year. The unemployment rate in Monroe increased from 9.8% last year to 10.2% in 2013. A slight increase that's in line with the rest of the state, which is above the national average. And finally, we're very proud of one of the final statistics in the report. In the last 4 years, the percentage change in cost per pupil has increased less than 1% per year. That's arrived at by taking the operating expenditures, dividing by enrollment, and that comes up with the cost per pupil. That's increased less than 1% a year for the last 4 years, and that's a direct reflection of this board's desire to control costs while absorbing all of the new enrollment that the district faces. I'd like to thank Mr. Stankiewicz for the audit, and I very much want to thank the board members for all of their resources provided to the business office, which directly resulted in this clean audit. Thank you.
Ms. Antelis?
I'd just like to add that for the 12-13 school year, we actually were audited 4 times, once by Mr. Stankiewicz, once by the State of New Jersey Affirmative Action, the State of New Jersey Child Nutrition Department, and the State of New Jersey CUSAC. All 4 of them passed. So on that note, I would like to recommend that the members of the Board of Education accept and approve the comprehensive annual financial report and the auditor's management report on administrative findings, financial compliance, and performance, and hereby approve and authorize the submission of the required corrective action plan to the county office, indicating there are no recommendations for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2013.
Second.
By Mr. Braverman. Is there any comments or questions for Mr. Gorski?
Just
Mr. Kessler?
Just real brief, this is my final report here as a board member, but I'd like to congratulate Mike in the business office. This is my 7th presentation. Every year we've gotten a clean report, and it's kudos to the way Mike in the business office and your predecessor has run the business of Monroe Township. And it's, everybody should sleep a little easier tonight that know the money is managed well. So congratulations again. Thank you.
I also want to, thank the administration, the staff. This is about the 20th year I think I've been through audits that there's been no recommendations, and that's really kudos to the district and to the financial management. So thank you.
Anyone else? Then we will have a roll call.
Ms. Antelis?
Yes.
Mr. Braverman?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella? Yes. Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman? Yes. Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Poi?
Yes.
Mr. Prezioso?
Yes.
Mr. Tesler?
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, motion unanimously passes.
And I'd just like to add to what Amy and Iris said, because I've been on the board 14 years, and we've had a clean opinion and no recommendations, and it's because of how the business office is run, and you can't get better than that. Okay, now we will go to the public forum. Anyone from the public wishing to speak to the agenda, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Okay, seeing no one, we will go to the approval of the minutes for the Public Board of Education meeting of October 16, 2013. Mr. Chiarella and Mr. Masters. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Everybody was here. Approval of the minutes for the closed session meeting of October 16, 2013. Mr. Chiarella, Mr. Masters, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, the approval of the minutes for the special Public Board of Education meeting of October 21st, 2013. Mr. Masters, Mr. Chiarella, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain?
Ms. Antelis? Mr. Kaufman?
So noted.
Everybody else was here on the, okay. Approval of the minutes for the closed session meeting of October 21st, 2013. Mr. Masters?
Second?
Ms. Antelis? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain?
Ms. Antelis?
Why can't you second it? I think you can. Well,
Do you want to keep your second?
no, somebody else can second it.
Who would like to
I'll
second?
second
Mr. Tesler? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ms. Antelis, are you abstaining?
Abstain.
Okay, and Mr. Kaufman's abstaining? Okay. We'll go to committee reports. Are there any committees that need to report this evening? Mr. Kaufman?
Not used to it being up in front of the agenda. We had a curriculum meeting this evening. We went over a couple of points. One of the things that we discussed for about almost 80% of the meeting was the topic of AP testing as it relates to the coming budget preparation. And it's the consensus of the committee to keep it as it is currently, which is going to be board funded. We did ask the administration to go back and potentially look at what we can do if we decide at some point in the future to ask for parental contributions with funding the AP testing. According to the information that was provided this evening, in the past, years ago, we had AP courses where we didn't require students to actually take the exams. And about 5 or 6 years ago, the board decided to make it a requirement that the students do take the AP exams in order to continue with taking the course. And it was determined at that time that if we are going to require them to take the test, than we were required to have to support the testing through the district. So we're going to ask the administration to go back and revisit that to see if there's, if that's still the case, or if it's something we want to consider as a possible budgetary option some point in the future. Mr. Gorman also provided us with a high school textbook inventory as a follow-up to a request I made back in September. So we've got a complete listing of all the textbooks and their current platform at the high school, whether they're in print or digital media. And we will continue to move forward where it's appropriate to look at options as they become available, whether it's in print or digital media. Obviously, the intent is to try and go digital wherever possible, but it also has to be economically feasible, so we'll continue to move that forward. And we had gotten a research study follow-up that Monroe participated in for a biology iBook or IEIOU book, something.
EIEIO, right?
Last year. We will have a follow-up and a presentation at the next Board of Education meeting in December, where the person who led the study is going to come in and give the entire board a presentation on the findings that were completed as part of this study. That's about it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Antelis?
We had a Finance Committee on Monday, November 11th. We had Mr. Stankiewicz in to present the audit, and we talked about the NJSB AIG Safety Grant appropriation. Mr. Gorski distributed information to the committee, letting us know that New Jersey School Boards Association Insurance Group will award $5 million in 2014 for safety grants to member districts, and Mr. Gorski indicated that Monroe will be applying for the maximum amount of grants possible. We had a MECA update, which Mr. Gorski talked about, and one of the things that we talked about was paying back the loan. So at this time, I would like to make a motion. It is recommended that the members of the Monroe Township Board of Education authorize and approve the repayment of the general fund loan from the Monroe Employee Child Care Academy, MECA, proprietary fund to be paid from available cash within the Monroe Employee Child Care Academy Fund in the minimum amount of $5,000 per month beginning December 2013 as funds permit at the discretion of the superintendent of schools.
Second by Mr. Prezioso. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call.
Ms. Antelis?
Yes.
Mr. Braverman?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella? Yes. Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Poi?
Yes.
Mr. Prezioso? Mr. Tesler?
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, motion to repay the loan passes unanimously.
And our next Finance Committee meeting will be Tuesday, December 10th, 6 p.m. at the central office.
Thank you. We had a Buildings Grounds Transportation Committee meeting, the same day, the 11th. Quickly, we're still waiting on the ROD grant projects. They're hopefully going to get back to us in December. If you remember, that's the expansion of the classrooms at the middle school. We're looking at 9 classrooms, 4 small group instructions, and 2 offices. That's also the windows and hazardous material abatement, the partial re-roofing, and possibly the tennis courts. We also spoke about the Applegarth trailer leasing. We're going to move forward with, or at this point, we're not going to look to renewing those leases over at Applegarth, and we're going to look into leasing office space somewhere in town. Again, we're just starting to look into that now. The middle school roof project is going, it's almost done. It's finishing up, went really well. This one's sad. The Oak Tree gray water system has been very problematic and expensive, so we authorized Jerry to bypass that system and switch us back onto the township water. And the Field of Dreams initiative is currently on hold. We're expecting a proposal from them at the December meeting. That's it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we will go to the superintendent's report. Dr. Hamilton?
Good evening, all. Before I get into my report, there's 2 newsworthy items I'd like to share with the board and the public. Firstly, I issued a press release that will hopefully appear in the papers this week. But long and short, Monroe Township High School is among several school districts in the United States and Canada being honored by the school board for placement in the 4th annual AP District Honor Roll. And the reason we're being acknowledged here is for increasing access to AP courses while working simultaneously to maintain or increase the percentage of students earning 3 or higher on AP exams. Reaching this goal indicates that the district is successfully identifying motivated, academically prepared students who are likely to benefit from this rigorous AP course. And since 2011, Monroe Township High School has increased the number of students participating in AP courses by 50%, while improving the 20% of students earning AP exam scores of 3 or higher by 7%. So it is very nice to be acknowledged nationally for our efforts to improve AP scores and access to these exams. So congratulations to our district and to our high school and our board for supporting it. And I also, it was mentioned in the student board member report that I want to acknowledge and congratulate members of the marching band and color guards. We are actually going to ask them to come to our meeting in December where we can discuss some way of acknowledging and presenting them. But they did rank first place out of 24 bands in competitions, receiving a school record score of 95.6 and also receiving the award for best overall effect. So I want to congratulate our students and our advisors and their parents, because if you know, members of the band and color guards is a very demanding schedule and often impacts families who have to put off vacations sometimes and weekend excursions because of the enormous commitment it takes. So congratulations to our students for that. Moving on to the superintendent's report. The enrollment report shows an increase in only 8 students this month, from last month to this month. And we also have enclosed in your report out-of-district placements and those youngsters who are currently placed on home instruction for various reasons. Also included in this report is the report for fire drills and lockdown drills at both of our schools, at all of our schools. And moving on to our personnel report, Madam Board President and members of the Board of Education, it is recommended by the superintendent. Let me just pull my notes up here. It is recommended by the superintendent that personnel items A through U be approved by roll call vote.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Chiarella, Mr. Tesla, any comments or questions for Dr. Hamilton? Mr. Prezioso?
Page 11 on the board agenda, the anti-bullying specialist, that's all mandated, correct?
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll have a roll call. Oh, Mr. Poi.
I'd just like a clarification on one of the personnel items. It's Kelly Fabiano is listed there, and I simply don't understand the information given about where she's being placed on the salary guide. I don't follow what that 120% is all about.
Child studying team members are expected to put in 20 days over the summer above and beyond the regular contract. So that's what that represents, the other 20%.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Roll call.
Ms. Antelis?
Yes.
Mr. Braverman?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yes.
Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Poi?
Yes.
Mr. Prezioso?
Yes.
Mr. Tesler?
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, Board personnel items A through U passes.
Thank you.
Moving on to board action items, Madam Board President, members of the Board of Education, it is recommended by the superintendent. I forgot to tell you guys, have a good night. It is recommended by the superintendent that board action items A through N be approved by roll call vote, and I have an addendum that I'll read into the record separately.
Mr. Chiarella?
Second.
Second by Ms. Antelis. Comments or questions for Dr. Hamilton? Mr. Chiarella?
Oh, sorry.
I just have a quick question on section V, letter N, just what the nature of the damage was in Woodland?
That was graffiti. We don't know who did it. That occurred after hours. Generally, damage assessed through the violence and vandalism report would be billed to the parent, but in this case, we don't know who the vandal was.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, then we'll have a roll call.
Ms. Antelis? Mr. Braverman?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yes.
Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Poi?
We're voting on items A through N?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Prezioso?
Yes, except for A and J. No.
No on A and J. So noted. Mr. Tesler?
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, board action items A through N passes.
Thank you.
And if I may read in to the record, board action item O. On your attachment, there's a job description that looks like it may have been attached in error, but in essence, we're recommending, this came out of personnel, I am recommending that the board approve the change of the job title from security coordinator to director of security. This does not change salary or duties at all. It's just a recommended change in title from security coordinator to director of security, and that would be item O. Item P would be recommended that the board approve the attached sidebar agreement between the MTEA and the Board of Education, and that's specific to the middle school performances and the corresponding stipends.
Is there a motion to accept?
Oh.
Oh,
I have a question.
oh, Mr. Poi.
Question come after the motion or before?
Usually comes after,
After. Okay.
right?
So moved.
Mr. Tesler,
Second.
second by Mr. Masters. Now, comments or questions?
Yeah.
Mr. Poi.
Okay, item P, could you? Item P, the sidebar agreement that we're asked to approve tonight with the Teachers Education Association. Could you just elaborate a little bit on the need, the history, the reason, whatever it is for that?
Sure. Since the influx of the sixth graders into the middle school, the current agreement does not recognize the positions necessary for those school performances. So it is recommended through this sidebar that we add a sixth grade backstage assistant at a stipend of $600 and a choreographer for $1,700. And again, that is because the workload has increased significantly as a result of the sixth graders now being in the middle school, and those folks are expected to put on a sixth grade show. And the second part of that would be adding another position at $600 for backstage assistants for the 7th and 8th grade show. And that is as a result of the increased number of students in the 7th and 8th grade who participate in the 7th and 8th grade show performances. Yes, and there is revenue collected as a result of these performances that would essentially offset these costs.
Did you want to take these separately?
No, we could do O and P with consent, roll call.
Okay. Mr. Kaufman?
So I'm kind of glad you brought up the first one. What's it, O?
Yes.
Because I guess fundamentally, I do have a problem with the way this is listed here, because Director of Security, and then we have a director in the title, job description, and then the title we have Department Coordinator, and kind of everything underneath it doesn't make sense to the title. So
it's
for me, I'm going to approve something that makes sense as presented. I don't want to kind of just approve a position without it, because this is going to be what that job description for that person is going to be tied to, right?
And my motion is not to approve the job description, just the change, the title change.
Change in title.
There's already an approved job description for security coordinator that was approved a while ago, a month ago or so. I'm just asking to change the title, not the job description. I know what you're referring to in terms of the attachment, but it's kind of irrelevant for what I'm asking the board to do.
And just so that I could know, because maybe other board members want to know, item 2 on the qualifications, does this really, I mean, this is somewhere else, too. Minimum experience as determined by the board? What does that mean?
Again, that's not this, what's attached here is an entirely different position.
I got it. I'm just concerned that that exists anywhere. What does it mean by minimum experience as determined by the board?
Well, essentially, when the job qualifications were written for this particular position, the board has the opportunity to decide whether or not there are experiences that they want to consider above those that are listed in the posting that generally goes out for the job.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Just,
Zarneski?
just another question on that, though. Number one, the valid New Jersey teaching certificate for Director of Security?
That's not for this.
It's
It's
not
not
for
for
this.
this? I'm just making sure, like
Yes.
Lou says, you know, you want to look and you see everything's in order here, that's all. All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Then we'll have a roll call on O and P.
This is a consent roll call for ONP. Ms. Antelis? Mr. Braverman? Mr. Chiarella?
Yes.
Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes, as long as it's something to touch.
Indeed it is. Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Poi?
I'm going to say yes on P, but I'm going to abstain on O because I'm totally confused about this.
So noted. Mr. Prezioso?
Yes.
Mr. Tesler?
Yes.
Mrs. Kolpanowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, items O and P passes.
Thank you.
And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Okay, then we will go to the Business Administrator's report with Mr. Gorski.
Madam Board President and members of the Monroe Township Board of Education, it is recommended that board action items A through I be approved by consent roll call.
So moved.
Mr. Masters? Second by Ms. Antelis. Are there any questions or comments from Mr. Gorski? Mr. Prezioso?
Item D, number 2, what is that, Michael?
Item D, number 2, it is recommended that members of the Board of Education approve Education Incorporated to provide hospital education services to students admitted into a hospital or treatment center at a rate of $36 per hour for the 13-14 school year.
It's a teaching, right?
It's an instructional service designed to provide instruction to hospitalized students.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, we will have a roll call.
Ms. Antelis? Mr. Braverman? Mr. Chiarella?
Yes.
Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Poi?
Yes.
Mr. Prezioso?
Yes.
Mr. Tesler?
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, board action items A through I passes.
Thank
That
you.
concludes my report.
Thank you. This time, we'll go to the Board President's report, and mine should be pretty short. In October, I attended the annual School Boards Workshop in Atlantic City. I went to a number of workshops in regard to board governance and public participation at meetings, and I'm really proud to say that we do things really well in Monroe. We adhere to our Robert's Rules of Order, we adhere to our policies. Many other districts have a 3-minute time limit, but they don't adhere to it because they don't have a timer. They kind of use the clock or whatever. To clarify some of the things for the public that we've learned or reinforced, the first public forum on our agenda is always for agenda items. The second public forum is for anything that the public wishes to speak about. Something that we do in Monroe that most other districts don't do is that we answer questions. Most other public forums, second one on agendas in other counties or towns, is for the public to give their opinion, to make statements, to give their an idea, or if they're not happy with something, to just tell us. But we give you time to ask questions and answer them at board meetings, and that's really not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to just give you the time to speak about whatever, and we do that. I think none of the other districts, as I know this has come up here in the past, but no other district uses a third public forum, so 2 is pretty good. The chair of any committee has the right to change public forum. We could add one if we have a special topic, like we do for our budget in March, where we have a public forum. We'll open it up to the public just for the discussion on the public forum. We also can lengthen the public forum or make the time of the public forum, say an hour, or make the time per person less if there's a lot of people in the audience, and that that is done before the public forum begins. So I was just very proud of this board because we've been able to do that and do it well, I believe, compared to what I was hearing from other districts. And one other thing that's probably not going to be as exciting to anybody else as it was to me, but I attended a New Jersey Devils game this past Sunday, and to kick off the start of high school ice hockey season, Sunday was Captain's Night at the game at the Prudential Center. The Devils welcomed the 2013-2014 NJSIAA high school ice hockey captains and co-captains, and had all of them honored on the ice between periods in their varsity sweaters. There was 120 captains and co-captains honored, including Monroe. The captains for Monroe was Peter Michula and Skylar Izzo, and they got their names on the video scoreboard, and I took a picture with it on my phone. Unfortunately, it's not big enough to show everybody, but to me that was a very exciting and another honor for our sports teams. So that concludes my report. Is there any other business by any member of the Board of Education? Mr. Chiarella?
Yeah, I just have just a quick question. I'm hearing a lot of rumors that we may be adding 3 days onto our school year this year, and then to accommodate the Sun Arena graduation. Is there any truth to that?
Partially. We do have some challenges with our current graduation date. Sunbank Arena, we're not able to accommodate our original date, which was June 20 or 21st, I forget which one it is. So the option is to either change our calendar to accommodate the first date that they have available, which would be June 25th, or look at alternatives for the graduation ceremony. Right now, we're looking at alternatives to the graduation ceremony. We're not prepared to make a recommendation to change the calendar yet.
All right, I just want to just quickly give my opinion. I think that we have this beautiful school, and I know the reasoning. I know why we moved it and why we're using sun and you know the issues with storms and things like that. But I also think that with the beautiful high school that we have and our facilities, we just added a new server that would enable us to transmit, I'm hoping, right, the graduation to other rooms and other areas where we might be able to have graduation here. So I just think that might be an added savings, and we could bring it home, which might help. So I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Mr. Tesler?
Okay, 2 things. In reference to the graduation, I'd like to see, I would not like to see the calendar changed. I would like to leave it the way it is, and Plan A would be try to find a facility that it can accommodate our schedule. If not, Plan B, I agree with Ken, we should this year have it here. I've been attending graduations for 7 years. I attended the 2007 graduation, which was the deluge. We all got soaked with the pouring rain. It was a really nice day. Got out to the football field, and we barely made it through all the calling of all the names. We were all soaking wet, and after that, the next six graduations that I attended was at Sunbank Arena. Personally, I like the graduation at Sunbank Arena. It gives the opportunity for having as many family members as you want. My daughter graduated in 2012, and we got to bring all my family. We would be limited here at the school. But if that has to be Plan B this year, I would like to see the schedule stay as it is. Second, the Lustig Dance Theater, on a whole other topic, is presenting the Jazzy Nutcracker on December 14th at 1 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. At the Monroe, at the high school right here, at the Performing Arts Center. Tickets are available at jazzynutcracker.com, or you can also see anybody who's on the Monroe Education Foundation. Part of the proceeds for this event is going to the Monroe Education Foundation. The Monroe Ed Foundation, which I've been a member of since 2003, sponsors a teacher grant program every spring and funds programs that are excluded in the school budget. And just for example, this past year, the Monroe Head Foundation donated 2 iPads to every elementary school so they can get a feel for that technology and share that with all their students. Teachers have the ability to check those devices in and out in their classrooms. Again, tickets are available at jazznutcracker.com. You can buy them online, see any member of the MEF, which tonight includes myself, Amy, and Kathy Kay. And between that, there is also a lunch with Santa Claus. So bring the kids, wake the neighbors, all that stuff. They can go there as well. It's going to be a great time for all the family, and we hope to sell out this event. Thank you.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yeah, a couple notes. First off, I'd like to, or at least ask everybody, remind everybody as they leave here tonight, as was mentioned, the Monroe Township High School Marching Band won this national championship, and the trophy is actually in the atrium. You actually can't miss it because it's about the size of 3 Stanley Cups stacked up to each other. So please take in a second to at least look at that unbelievable trophy. As a former pit crew person, I can attest to what was mentioned earlier, that the parents and the students have an enormous commitment to that program, and a heartfelt congratulations is well overdue. That's an incredible feat. And one request, perhaps, when the marching band comes in, it would be nice to see the Allentown presentation here and maybe post it on the website so everybody could see what that type of program is, because unless you go to these things, you really don't have an appreciation for the logistics of getting the band, the color guard, and everything else that's related to the program there, perform, and to come back. It's an incredible feat, so congratulations again. Oh, one last thing. Talking about the high school, part of that 2007 torrential rain with Ms. Kapalowicz and myself when we had our sons graduating, we also have to keep something in mind. Another reason why it's going to be a challenge to have it here is because of the turf field that we have at the high school is not designed or can hold chairs on the field. So if we ever to consider that again, as long as we don't cause any irreparable damage to our facilities to bring it back here, I don't necessarily have a problem, but that was a major consideration in addition to the rain. When we had the new AstroTurf put on there, that the chairs, can't be put on that field because it could tear it, so.
Thank you. And I know, while we didn't really appreciate the rain very much, my son said it was the best day of high school he had.
What is it?
I don't know what that says. Anyone else? Ms. Antelis?
Just talk about an article I saw online in the New Jersey Spotlight, and apparently a Senator Teresa Ruiz from Essex is sponsoring a bill that was once rejected by the legislature, brought on by Governor Christie, and it talks about proposing $5 million to foster innovation in New Jersey schools. I hope it passes. I don't think $5 million is all that much. But one of the things I wanted to point out in the article, it really talks about what the agenda is going to be this Thursday when they meet. And one of the bills also for consideration is a task force to study all-day kindergarten. And I know that a few people on this board have brought up about all-day kindergarten, and I think once a task force is put into place, it's going to be a while before they come to any kind of conclusion the way they work. So I just wanted to bring that up about the all-day kindergarten because I know we've discussed it. And I hope that Senator Ruiz's bill passes, and maybe we can get some.
Thank you. Mr. Masters?
Well, about the graduation, everybody knows I've been talking about that for a couple of years now. I say bring it back, but again, we'll have to vote on it. With the marching band, would it be possible to get one of those, like we have the football sign out front where it says, home of the whatever, could we get something similar for the marching band, because it has some sort of 2009 award on it?
I think we should refer to our policy and make sure we're being consistent with the policy so that it promotes a procedure that would be applicable to all sports and co-curricular activities.
Okay, as long as it's being looked at. There's going to be, I believe it's still on, I haven't heard back, Thanksgiving over at the Senior Center. I think the honor students are going to be over there serving up some food. So I think you have to pay a little bit if you want to come on down. If you don't have anybody to spend Thanksgiving with, you might even see me over there if somebody from the township gets back to me. I'm still waiting. And also, I'd like to congratulate Lou, Tom, and Michelle on the election. It was a pretty hard-run election. And also, Mr. Rybeck. Just want to commend him. I mean, it's a lot of effort and a lot of work, and you did go to distance. So a lot of respect to you. That's it.
Anyone else? Mr. Poi?
Yes. With some of the fellow board members, I want to commend Mr. Gorski. Based on the auditor's report and the CAFR report, I just want to commend Mr. Gorski and his staff for keeping our financial ship afloat and on course. And I particularly want to commend the teachers of our advanced placement courses for all the work that they have done and the role that they have played in helping Monroe be recognized on the AP honor roll list. Without the dedication and the hard work of those teachers, I don't think that would have happened. So I want to commend that group of teachers for having helped us achieve that accomplishment.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we will go to the closed session resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Township of Monroe hereby moves to go into closed session in accordance with the Sunshine Law, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, NJSA 10:4-6 through 10:4-21, to discuss the following subject: harassment, intimidation, and bullying incidents 4 through 12. The discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public at such time that the matters have been resolved.
So moved.
Second.
What?
10 minutes. Not even 5.
No, I was going to use a pen. But I didn't get the first and second. Mr. Chiarella and Ms. Antelis, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, this will only take us about 5 to 10 minutes, maybe not even.
$1,000. And maintenance fees.
At this time, the board will reconvene into public session and go to number 16 on the agenda, the public forum. Anyone from the public wishing to come and speak, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Chrissy
And
Skirby.
we will adhere to our 3-minute limit.
Right. Chrissy Skirby, 8 Seminole Court. I just wanted to give a quick update. I know Ira said that the Monroe Ed Foundation provided each school with iPads. The Oak Tree Applegarth PTA this week approved $5,000 in grants above what we already fund for the schools, and we will be supplying Oak Tree with 2 iPads as well, and Applegarth. Our teachers are using them in the classrooms. It's very exciting to see the technology in our classrooms like that. So I'm just wondering if at any point this technology will be expanded down through the middle school and the elementary schools as it is in the high school.
Jeff? Say the word.
I mean, because we're getting requests in from our teachers, which is wonderful. And what they're showing us as PTA that they're doing, asking us to fund them, is great. But, I mean, we're volunteers. We cannot provide every single teacher in our schools with this. So we're doing the best we can. And I know that every teacher in the high school has it. So maybe not for next year, but is there any type of planning, maybe a couple a year, to go into the schools?
Honestly, we haven't really discussed the elementary level, and I certainly don't see it happening in the next probably even 2 budget cycles. We have talked about ways we could expand it perhaps to the middle school. We have not approached the elementary levels yet.
Okay. And just on board action item V, letter E, the middle school DARE trip to Trenton Thunder, the $6 per student. What is the $6 cover?
I'm not sure, offhand.
Probably a ticket price.
Yeah. Okay, let me look at it. Oh, we have to back up. What letter was that, Mrs. Kirby?
Action V, Board Action V, letter E.
Normally, might be ticket price, it might be bus transportation.
I think that's admission.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, it looks like that's admission,
Admission. Oh, are the parents driving the students there, or are they going to be taking a bus?
That's a DARE program, so there may be a bus fee that's covered by the school.
Okay, so the actual trip cost isn't going to be $3,300. It would probably be another $3,000 on top of that because you'd need 11 buses.
I'm not sure, I don't want to say yes to that without.
Well, they're 52 passenger buses. You have 550 kids going, you would need 11 buses. I guess my question is, why has the board approved to pay for this field trip, but we don't pay for any other field trips? Or any busing for any field trips? Why this particular field trip?
Yeah, no, I would need to get back to you on that because I don't have the particulars on the origin of that or what's covered by the grant. Some of this is covered by a grant because it's a DARE endeavor.
All right, but the $3,300 isn't covered because the board just approved that this evening. And my question is why would the board approve that? We don't pay for field trips. And I have a 6th grader, so it's going to be money in my pocket, but I also have a 3rd grader and I pay for those field trips as a parent. So my question is, why are we?
We'll have Dr., because your time is up, we'll have Dr. Hamilton get back to you with that information, okay?
So it was voted on, but nobody knows why.
Well,
I mean, that's my question, is why would we vote on, why would we vote to cover the cost of this field trip, but this board has voted not to cover field trips? That's my question.
Anyone else from the public?
Jill Arminio, 9 Nathaniel Street. Could someone explain a little bit of the gray water system? I mean, I know what it is, but what the cost actually was and why it would be best to discontinue it? That's an environmental.
Mr. Masters?
I'll do it just because I remember, that's why.
Okay, a part of the question, though, is that was built into the new school as an environmental part of the LEED
Yes.
certification?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Will that, and also the end part of the question would be, would that change our LEED certification in that building?
Okay, I will answer it.
Whichever way you
The
want.
cost first. So the cost that we're recouping from the gray water, what it does is it collects the rainwater, we filter it, we chlorinate it, and we use it to flush the toilets.
Right.
The cost that we recoup from not using township water is infinitesimal compared to what we're paying to maintain and repair the system. We use chlorine, we have to chlorinate it because kids can come in contact with it. So even the price of that is more than we get if we just used township water. Also, if it gets, we just had, it broke, and it was about 15 grand to repair the system because it's a custom system, which I didn't even know until Mr. Tague explained it to me, that it's not an off-the-shelf system. They actually built that in the school.
Okay.
So to get it repaired is very, very, very expensive. So the board decided to basically hook it up to the town just for that portion. Well, whether it will affect it or not, we're still looking into that. We don't think so, but it could.
Could we go back to the I know there was a lead consultant on that, and find out how maybe we can maintain it, and also maybe we can find some grants, because I'm sure there might be grants for environmental, like changing and opening schools environmentally. So we might be able to get a grant to actually pay for that system and still be able to use it. I mean, it's just a possibility.
Yeah, we can look at that, except that, like Mr. Masters said, it was a custom-built piece of equipment, and we find that it's been causing more trouble than it's worth.
And I understand that. I'm just saying, looking forward, instead of, and maybe now it's the best thing to do to eliminate it at this point. I understand that, but maybe we can look into, and I know there's a good environmental committee in, I think it's Concordia or Clearbrook, I'm not sure. I'll look it up, and they may be willing, and the gentleman's very into water resources, so he may be able to help us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Hi, Steve Ryback. I get an introduction. 23 Riviera Drive. I really have a question directed at Doug Poy, because I know you're on that special panel.
Excuse me, you have to direct all your questions to the chair.
I'll direct it to you. There's a special panel with a board representative to look into the impact of students from the villages at Monroe, which is a proposed development for Mounts Mills and 613. Originally, the impact study showed 94 or 96 students, and there was a subsequent impact study. Now he's claiming it's 250 some odd students. I don't know exactly, a little over 250. But yet the expected tax revenue to cover the tuition of those students would only cover for 22 students. And I'm just wondering if the board had any updated information from that panel on this impact study.
Mr. Poy, there hasn't been a meeting, has there?
I have received no communication, and there have been no meetings from that subcommittee of the planning board.
So, no, there are no updates on that.
It's unfortunate, because I just find it to be ludicrous that these developers are getting away with this kind of misinformation and using studies that are 23 years old and don't consider available classroom space, and then the problem gets dumped into your laps. And I feel bad for all of you for that.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Robert Roach, 18 Muirfield Boulevard, Monroe. At past meetings, Mr. Ziklarski has mentioned about the connections fees from the municipality. There's also been discussions with the town council about sharing some of the municipal connection fees with the Board of Education to help the board. And I wonder if the board has thought about that and whether they have any idea whether they will approach the township on that issue.
That has not been discussed by the Board of Education. That would be something that the township would have to decide. I don't know what, I know what laws and things that we have to follow, but I don't know how they would have to handle that. I don't even know if it's legal for them to do that, to just give us the money.
They have indicated that there's no prohibition against doing that at council meetings. I'm just wondering whether you feel it's a worthwhile issue to consider and pursue, even internally, before you would go and contact the town council.
That would be something that the whole board would have to discuss.
So it hasn't been discussed as of this.
No, it has not.
Okay, thank you.
Great water.
Anyone else from the public? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public forum. And our next scheduled Public Board of Education meeting will be Wednesday, December 18th, 7 o'clock p.m. at the Monroe Township Middle School at the Performing Arts Center. Motion to adjourn, Mr. Kaufman.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tesler. All in favor? Opposed? And the meeting is adjourned.